Well, hello, and we're in Ephesians, and we come into what is certainly one of the best well-known parts of Ephesians, quite possibly the best well-known part, which is the armour of God. And today we'll just look at verses 10 to 13. So, let's read them. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armour of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armour of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you've done everything, to stand. Just looking at this, it's meant to be an anglicised version of the ESV, but it's got armour spelled A-R-M-O-R, so not particularly anglicised. Anyway, making allowances for that. Let's get to the meat of the matter. So first of all, we're told to be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. It's not a matter of being strong in ourselves or being strong in our power. The Lord is the foundation for everything, so we're strong in him. Then we're told to put on the whole armour of God, not some of it, but all of it. Put on the full armour. Why? So that we can take our stand against the devil's schemes. Now, the Bible is perfectly clear that the devil exists. As C.S. Lewis has famously said, there are two great mistakes we can make with the devil. One is to give him way too much attention. The other is, which can be a fault which some charismatic churches will fall into. The other, which is probably the more common, is to give him far too little attention. If we look at the world ignoring the reality of evil, personified, personalised evil, if you like, then we will not understand and we will make mistakes. And secondly, we are to take our stand against the devil. We are to take him seriously. We have to be aware of the spiritual battle, but we are not to fall back from it. We have to take it on. It says, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So, if we think we're just fighting flesh and blood, we're going to be mistaken. Now, this doesn't mean that practical politics, if you like, has no part to play. William Wilberforce is perhaps the most famous example of this, who, along with others, seriously battled, to get anti-slavery laws introduced into this country, and won his battle. But if we think it's the human battle is all that there is, we're going to be mistaken. One, if we win at the human battle and then think that's the job done, we were wrong. So slavery still exists in this country. It's mostly in the form of human trafficking and sex slavery these days, but it still exists. And there are many things going wrong in our society. And if we think political change is going to be the solution, then we are very much mistaken. Our battle is against principalities and powers. Against, as it puts it here, the powers of this dark age, of this dark world. That doesn't mean politics will have nothing to do with it, but the basis, the foundation, the starting point is it is a battle against spiritual forces. So the most important thing we do is pray. It's not all we do, but it's something that we must do. Then it says, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Now, we're in chapter 6. I've done loads of these things. You may remember, or possibly don't, if you've been listening to most of these. But way back, I mentioned that the phrase heavenly realms or heavenly places, depending which version you're using, appears in 5 places, I think, in Ephesians. Right, in chapter 1, verse 3, it says, we have been given every spiritual blessing. Where? In the heavenly realms. And in 1 verse 20, it says that Christ is seated at God's right hand in the heavenly realms. In Ephesians 2, verse 6, it says that we have been seated with Christ in the heavenly realms. And then in chapter 3:16, it says that God demonstrates his manifold wisdom to the spiritual forces in the heavenly realms through the church. So, we are involved in a battle. We are well placed to win the battle. So whatever's going on in society, we should take it seriously. We should not have some rose-tinted spectacles view of things. But we should also know that we win because of Christ. We have been given every spiritual blessing. Christ is seated at the right hand of God. We are seated together with Christ. And I believe that that's a present reality. It's not just what happens after Christ returns and the resurrection and all that stuff. So we win. And we are able to take our stand. Retreat is not the answer. It says, therefore, put on the full armour of God. Why? Because we're well placed to win. If we don't fight the battle, we won't win. But we are well placed to win. In fact, it's guaranteed because they have a basis of the victory is in Christ, not within us. So that when the day of evil comes, and that's not just referring to the Great Tribulation, it can be various days of evil. We live in evil days at the moment. They may get a lot worse, possibly. May or may not, I don't know. But we need to take our stand. And then after we've done everything, to stand. So we are on the side that wins. So we need to fight the battle. We need to realise the position we're in, which is a very strong position. We need to fight the battle, not give up. And then in the next part, we'll start to look at the armour that we need to put on in order to win the battle. So we'll leave things there for the time being. See you next time. So fight the battle.